ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्तदामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Verse number 10 onwards. ब्रह्मण्यादाय कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्बसा। कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये। युक्तः कर्मफलं त्यक्त्वा शान्तिमाप्नोति नैष्ठिकीम्। अयुक्तः कामभोगेन फले सक्तो निबध्यते। सर्वकर्माणि मनसा सन्न्यस्यास्ते सुखं वशी। नवद्वारे पुरे देहि नैव कुर्वन्न कारयन्। न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः। न कर्मफलसंयोगं स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते। नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापं न चैव सुकृतं विभुः। अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानं तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः। ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानं येषां नाशितमात्मनः। तेषामादित्यवज्ञानं प्रकाशयति तत्परम्। तद्बुद्धयस्तदात्मानः तन्निष्ठास्तत्परायणाः गच्छन्त्यपुनरावृत्तिं कामकल्मषाः. Here in this particular chapter, as we have been seeing, the question was raised. Arjuna asked this question: renunciation of action or performance, which is according to you is right thing to do. And Bhagavan Krishna has been explaining both what needs to be done. But at the same time, keeping Arjuna in mind, he specifically instructs Tayostu karma sannyasat karma yogaha vishishyate. Then renunciation of action, performance is better for you. But at the same time, it is not that he says the other path is not right. It requires a greater maturity. Now, in this particular verse that we are now going to discuss, verse number 17, it's a very interesting verse from different standpoints. First and foremost is, it establishes, the Gita establishes that there is a state of no return. State of no return means what? Where one does not anymore take birth. Apunaravrittihi. Punaha means again. Avritti means coming back. Apunaravritti means no coming back. How much then what will we go? What will happen to us? All thinking people will have this question. In Kathopanishad, as I have mentioned before also, that boy there, young boy, Nachiketas, asked this question. Yeyam prete vichikitsa manushye astitye veke nayam astiti cha eke. Some people say it is, some people say it is not. Deveratra vichikitsa asti. Even among the gods there is this question. All of us are sure that we are born. All of us also know that we will not be there after some time. But after that what will happen? Where do we go? And the Hindus have a very confirmed knowledge. We will come back. Is it not? And that is how you postpone many things. इस जन्म में नहीं होता क्या है, अगले जन्म में देखेंगे भाई. In this birth, if it is not there, so what? That's why so relaxed they are. There's no tension much. Those who don't believe have a lot of tension, because everything I have to finish in this birth itself. In this life, I have got this kind of husband. अच्छा ठीक है, चलो. Next birth it will be okay. Yesterday, I was in somebody's house, and a lot of sweets were came. I said, Swamiji, why not you take sweets? I'll tell you one thing. In the previous birth, I was a Gujarati. And I always wanted to eat spicy food. I became a South Indian in this birth. Now, if I take a sweet again, I'll go back to the same point. Nahi hoga. Neither this nor that. It's good. We always have that, some kind of satisfaction. Agle janam mein dekhenge. Yesterday somebody told me this joke. My parents kept the name to the child Unbelievable. Name of the child, Unbelievable. And this boy, as he grew up, he became very frustrated because everybody got, hey, Unbelievable, come here. So when he got married and all those things, he told his wife finally, when I finally die, make sure that my name is not put Unbelievable there. They're okay. And he died. So in that stone it is written, here lies the most beloved husband of mine. He always listened to me. He was so good to everybody. So people who pass by look, unbelievable. Anyway, the point here is apunaravrittihi, no coming back. It's possible. Bhagavan Krishna very confirmingly says, Gachanti apunaravrittim. They will surely go to a state of no return. And now, question is, why do we come back at all? Let us take a single day, for example, today. So you have so many things to do on a Sunday. But don't you postpone it for tomorrow? Few things. Tomorrow I'll do it. Not today. This, what we keep it as tomorrow's, it's called our vasana. I want to do it. I have the desire to do that. But I cannot accomplish now. Not that I have given up on that, but I don't want to do it now because I may not be capable of doing it, or I do not have the resources to do it, or I don't have the energy to do it. Tomorrow. So that accumulates as impressions in our mind, subtle body. And that subtle body, which has the impressions of what you have not accomplished, what you did not do, what you did not complete, in other words, that is the cause, that is what is considered as the reason to come back. And Krishna here calls these impressions which are there in your mind, which are the causes for your return, is called kalmashaha, dirt. Dirt means, not to take it in the correct sense, dirt means things are impurities which are making you come back again and again into this physical body. So we have accumulated this way so many of them over many, many lives. So in the previous life, whatever we have accumulated, we are trying to exhaust it and experience it in this life. And we may not fully do it. In the process, we accumulate new things. And that also gets stored here. Then that becomes the cause of next one. In the next one, you are trying to finish that. In the process, you may or may not be able to do it. Or even if you are able to do it, new things have come. Again. Is it not every time you change your house, you have this vairagya coming to you? Itna, my God, how many things have accumulated? Truck and truckloads of things. I'm telling you, you may tell your wife, you don't buy anything new, I'm telling you. So many things, never used. And after that everything, she knows how to hide things. No? So much space is there, buy. Again. In the same way, in this birth, whatever we are doing and additionally what we have gathered goes back to this. Since it is bringing us back again and again and again, when you are young and hearty and healthy, no problem. But as you age, bas ho gaya, dusra janam nahi chahiye. This body, see how much painful it is, dragging, this pain, here is the pain, there is the pain. Thak gaya hu. I do not want any more birth. And not physically, that sometimes some people around you gives that vairagya also to you. I don't want to come anymore. With this kind of a children, with this kind of a husband or a wife, this kind of a mother-in-laws and father-in-laws, I don't want to come back again. But is it your choice? Yeah. Even as you are getting frustrated, but what you have accumulated for so long is still waiting there. Therefore, at this point of your life, when you are physically healthy, etc., you may not find it is a problem. But later on, as you start analyzing what is the cause of all these things. Kalmasha. Kalmasha, kalmasha word. It's a Sanskrit word. In Tamil it became something else. Kashmalam. In Chennai you go, it's a nice, wonderful language they have. So if you are doing something which you don't, hey, Kashmalam. That is what it means here. Dirt. So this Kashmalam or Kalmashaha, they are the dirt, accumulated dirt. Nobody is responsible. Don't blame the world. I did it myself. And these vasanas which are the causes for my rebirth, not only my rebirth, but whatever I do now, willingly or unwillingly, as an habit, because I am forced by something to act desirefully. Even if I know that that particular act is not right, I cannot stop it. It has become a habit. It has become a force within me, as though that very force with which, because of which we act, can be overcome only by not any other method, by not doing actions as dictated by it, or just ignoring it. It is by burning it with knowledge. Jnana nirdhuta kalmasha. By understanding alone, by maturity of thinking alone, by vichara alone, you can overcome that. Because not escaping it, not ignoring it, not succumbing to it, you will never overcome this. You know, in the Western psychology, it is referred as subconscious mind. And the other day I was talking to the senior citizens about this process. In the conscious mind is objective mind, and subconscious mind is habitual mind. Most of our acts are dictated by not objective mind. Though we think that we are at the state, like for example, now you are all, most of you are awake. So in that condition, you are operating at the conscious level of your mind, which means that you see things, you decide, you talk, you think, and you transact. All these things are happening at the level of the objective mind. But there is a subjective mind which is sitting within us, this is it, which actually decides the way you think. It influences a lot about, in the form of likes and dislikes, strong prejudices, based upon its past impressions. So in the dream state, for example, is where the subjective mind, the subconscious mind has taken over. You have no choice. In the dream, your objective mind is zero. You cannot decide anything. You cannot think the way you want. It is a subconscious mind which has already taken over. And it produces the situation or experiences per its own accumulated impressions. So when you wake up from the dream and you say, oh, what are the things that are going on in my mind? Who created it? There you are. Or sometimes you may have done something which you regret later, and you go back and say, what made me do that? Here. What made me say that? What made me react like that? And you realize that your force of the past, which is accumulated as impressions, which is pushing you to say, do, react in a particular way, and therefore you only realize afterwards. Now, what is the spiritual teaching here is that when you are becoming aware of the subconscious mind pushing you, become alert. Most of your habits are accumulated here. Therefore, sometimes even without anybody prompting you, or you yourself knowing, unknowingly, do it. The third Rasagulla, you put it in your mouth. Yeah, it is. Because it doesn't even ask why now, third one. Even though the knowledge is there, this is dangerous to your health. Nahi chalega. And you may say, oh, I don't know, I'm not, nowadays I've given up street, I have decided. And everybody gone. Why? That fellow is so strong. So it is not it's been there for many, many lives. Not this life or this last life. Lives together. So the way to overcome this influence of subconscious mind is to make the conscious mind stronger. That is what is called intellect. The intellect which is getting educated by knowledge, not just material knowledge, a spiritual knowledge, where you are able to clearly see what is right and what is wrong, and what is appropriate to do, what is not right to do, and when that thought or prompting comes to do things that are not right, that is when you pass, you PASU, not PASS, pass. Think. Oh, it's like when you are driving in the car, the red light when it is there, you pass. Wait. In here, I'm talking about here. So, you just came from India. It's called FOB. Fresh off the boat. You go. I'm not in India. So why do you pass? Because there is a consequence. If you do that. There's Chitragupta there sitting there. Is Chitragupta? Hidden camera. Catches. So when you are prompted by unconscious impressions, subconscious mind, you must catch yourself. No. To say no is the most difficult thing. No. That will, that strength of the mind, knowledge, not only just gathering information but applying it. Jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. By the knowledge, jnanena nirdhuta, vinashita, destroyed, kalmashaha. When we reduce the intensity of the vasanas, to that extent you are free. The freedom, the joy of, or the happiness of being released from the clutches of the subconscious mind results in no need to come back. Logical. So long as their impressions are there accumulated, there will be no choice for you to come back, but to come back. Now, it is good or bad. Whatever vasanas we have, good vasanas of doing something good or bad vasanas of something bad, in both the cases, you have no choice. So, when correct knowledge takes place by understanding, by strengthening the subjecting the conscious mind, one will be able to reduce the vasanas and not accumulate new things. That is also important. Not only weakening what is already there, but also not introducing something new. So when you are introduced to something new, new habit, a new thing, there you have to be careful. Let me not get to become a habit. Let it not go deeper into my impressions, which will again cause a problem of repetition. So, an impression does not become an impression unless it is unconsciously repeated by you or consciously repeated by you. Any habit is like that, repetition. But what to do? Our mind is like that. In a given period of given time, when you are sitting there, certain thoughts keep repeating. Right? Few things keep repeating. Except Lord's name, everything repeats. भगवान के नाम ले लो भाई. Japa, you do the japa, नहीं होगा. But everything else keeps on churning in your head. So Krishna gives a solution for this. He says in the first line, you see, Tad buddhayaha tadatmanaha tannishtaha tatparayanaha. So let us go from the back to the front. Tatparayanaha. First of all, you must recognize that what you ultimately seek is freedom from your own self, from your own subconscious mind, which has all the impressions, because of which, without any freedom or choice, you repeat the same thing over and over and over again. Coming back, again we born, again doing the whole thing, suffering experiencing various things, and then going through all the various other vicissitudes of life, then die again be born. Until you realize, no, there is a higher goal. Realizing the highest self. Param ayanam. Ayanam means path. Param, higher. Like Narayana, when you say Narasya ayanam, Narayana. The path of the highest Purushottama. Or Ramayana, Ramasya ayanam. The path of Rama, the life of Rama. Similarly, Parayanam. Parayana means where an individual recognizes I have a higher goal. So when the higher goal is recognized, the first change takes place. If my goal is to free myself, I have to find where the bondage is. Isn't it? If I have to, you have seen some maze. You played the maze, keep on doing the children. Nowadays those things are all gone. So there is one small little iron ball or whatever, and there is a maze, and you have to make sure that you can come out of it. You can do so because you are looking from a higher angle, and you know exactly where the exit is. I think in Delhi or somewhere there is a maze. I don't know where it is. I have gone somewhere. Rajasthan, somewhere. Jaipur, maybe. I don't know. Delhi, maybe. Delhi? You are in the maze. You will never know where exactly is the exit. Anywhere you go, there is a wall. So, so long as you are within this grip of the vasanas, you will never know how to come out of it. Because you are not looking from a higher angle. In this game, you are able to see that thing in front of, here is the exit, so I can come this, and there get out. But when we are inside the life which is called the maze, how will you know? Therefore, it is necessary for an individual to once in a while come out of the mess of these vasanas and exclusively sit down to see where exactly is my problem. That's called meditation. It's an exclusive time you spend to find out what is that which is holding me back. Analyze what are your vasanas. At this present moment, we do not know unless they manifest. Unless they come to expression. And even those which have come to expression, sometimes we defend it. Everybody does it, so what's wrong? Just because everybody does doesn't mean it is right. If you are in a group of people, all of them are drinking, therefore drinking is right. Of course, you may say so. So when you are in the company of those people who are all doing the same mistakes and you think you are also right, that means you are in the maze. You must get out of that and then look at it. What is that which is holding me back, not able to enjoy my own being? My joy is always dictated by things around me. The way others behave, what they do, what I get, what I don't get. If these are the things dictating my joy, that is bondage. I have no choice. Therefore, tatparayanaha, keeping that goal of freedom as param ayanam, supreme goal, purpose, objective, lakshya, target. If that is my target, what is that I have to do right now? So here Krishna comes to say, if that is your ayanam, that is your goal, simply put, Vedanta says, you are actually free. Really speaking, you are not bound by anything. You are not caught by anything. You are not a victim of your vasanas. You know, when you become a victim of your vasanas, if you think this is what you are, I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect, then yes. Now, in your state of sleep, you just had some 4 hours back or maybe 1 hour back. Well, what was your condition? Where my vasanas were not manifest. I was not prompted by any desire. I was not troubled by any of my problems. I have not conditioned by any of my feelings and emotions. Why? Because at that point, when I was in the state of deep sleep, dreamless sleep, I was not considering myself as either of this. I am not my body, or the mind, or the intellect. Which means, I am capable of looking at myself without these things. With the body, there are vasanas which demand us to indulge in the senses. With the mind, I demand attention and recognition, or the intellect, attention, recognition, respect, honor. With the mind, I want to be loved. My ideas are to be accepted. My feelings has to be understood. My emotions have to, my husband doesn't understand my emotion at all. It's because so identified with mind. So when we thus identify with ourselves only as my physical body or the mind or the intellect, then obviously this will manifest. Therefore, sadnishtha. See the second last word. Tatparayanaha, those who have kept the highest goal of freedom as their objective, and those who are able to maintain freedom in their own being by knowing the freedom is not somebody going to give it to me, the freedom I have to claim, my birthright, by not seeing myself all the time as only the body, only my thoughts and emotions and feelings and ideas and concepts, and I'm caught up in my own whirlpool. With the body alone, the world of objects will dictate me, isn't it? Ice cream standing there, not standing, sitting there. Now, how much of power that ice cream has over me? Tell me. So long as I identify my body, my tongue needs it, the taste of it. And the advertisement chocolate, this melting. Now, that ice cream can command my being, even though inert. It is not a living being also. It's an inert thing. But it can control me. So when a small child is there, 5-year-old, you give him ice cream, does he even ask a question to you? He'll just grab it from your hand. If you show it to him, right? You don't show to that child that ice cream. Look at it without the body. You are not the body. Ice cream you don't need. Ah! You'll cry. You're not giving me the ice cream. So, but at least at this level, you and I can understand at least that ice cream has no power over me unless I become weak to my mind, my body. Right? So, with respect to my identification, Deha Atma idi buddhya, Deha Atma, my body is me. With that buddhi alone, vasana of ice cream will command you. So, it is by itself is not strong. It depends upon your weakness. The world is strong so long as you are weak. If my weakness I cannot overcome, then the world will dictate terms to me. So, identified with my body, the world of objects, of indulgences and sensuousness will dictate terms. Similarly, with respect to my own mind identification, I seek identity from the world outside. My emotions have to be satisfied, my feelings have to be felt. I want reciprocation from others. If I say and do things, you are not saying even thanks to me. That means basically you don't want to do it. If you want to do it, then you will do it whether somebody thanks you or not. You are doing it for the sake of some thanks or some reciprocation. So, identified with my mind, definitely it will have no command over it. Similarly, identified with my intellect, my ideas, my concept, my opinion. You are not listening to my opinion at all. So, from a higher angle, when we look at it, who is creating this maze? Ourselves. But we don't accept. Because we don't think. So, thus, therefore, here, tat parayanaha, keeping your own freedom as the highest goal, then what you should do? Tannishtaha. Tat nishta means tadeva nidaram, tasminneva nidaram sthanam stitihi. Nishta means nidaram sthanam. Nishta. Stay. Yes. I am by nature free. By my own weaknesses makes me bound. Which I have experienced that freedom, every one of us, in the state of sleep where I have not identified with any one of this. In that condition, I was not unhappy. Nobody is unhappy in sleep. Why? Because that's where you are unconditioned. That doesn't mean, sir, chalo Swami. So now let us sleep. That is unconsciously engaging in yourself. Because you have to wake up, because this wakes you up again. That while you are awake, while you are operating from the body, mind, intellect, your identification that I am only this, not anything else, that will bind you. You can work with that, but not get worked up by this. So therefore, tat parayana tannishta. Now you understand. And often when we thus operate from in this world identified with our body, mind, intellect, we think that everything that I can do, I am capable of doing is only because of this. No. You and I are capable of doing whatever we are able to do is because of the holy presence, the immaculate presence of Atman. Tadatma. Next one is, I am able to do whatever I am able to do is because I am alive. Life is not essentially depending upon these equipments alone. Just like none of the bulbs are deciding whether the electricity should be there or not. Are they deciding? Whether these bulbs or the air condition decides whether the power should be there or not, or the other way around? In the same way, this life within us, according to the spiritual science, is independent of matter. And this existence of the nature of pure consciousness is within us, independent of matter. Matter is only an expression of that. Just like you have a plant back in your backyard there, and the plant is capable of giving flowers and fruits and other things, it's because it's alive. And if you go on looking for the life inside the plant, you will never find it. Why? It is impersonal. It is imperceptible. Today morning I had a discussion on this point. In the 18th chapter of Gita, Bhagavan Sri Krishna very beautifully says, Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyati satyam te pradijane priyosime. That is, he says that the last part, 18th chapter, he says, I'll give you a secret. In that context, I was telling them that imperceptible or impersonal presence of the Lord, when becomes personal, that is called bhakti. A love manifest in a form becomes your deity of worship. I gave the example, just like a husband and wife, when the wife conceives a child, you don't see the face of the child. Do you? You don't know. You have to wait for how long? 9 months. And both the parents are so anxious to see the face of the child, though they know it is there, but they don't know in what form it is there. What is the face of the child? How does it feel? And when the child's first cry is heard, the mother is so anxious to see the child, though she has been with the child for so long, but seeing the child, how exhilarating is that moment. And the father also rushes to see his own creation. Why? Was it there or not? Yes. In what form? Inconceivable form. Upanishad says, Ettadadreshyam agrahyam avarnam achakshusotram tadapanipadam nityam vibhum sarvagatam susukshmam yadbhuta yonim paripashyanti dhiraha. That which is indescribable, which is unseen, formless, nameless, dimensionless, cause of everything, but they see it. What does it mean by seeing it? So a devotee is born when he has become anxious to see the unseen. So even though that self is there within us as our own presence, being, presently expressing through our body, mind, intellect as my own physical life and in the form of the consciousness which is making me aware of my emotions and feelings and thoughts and whatnot. That alone am I. Tadatma. One step further. So how to overcome vasanas I am trying to say here. Tad parayanaha, tan nishtaha, tad atma. Then thereafter they gain to the next level of tad buddhi. Tad buddhi means complete focus on that and that alone. Nothing else really comes to their mind. That doesn't mean they become unproductive, useless in this world. In fact, they become more available to the world because in everyone, in everything, they see that. Tad buddhi means where the intellect or the attention is on seeing the self alone, whether within or without. Oneself as well as others. It is similar to a permanent head damage takes place in a person who is pursuing PhD. PhD means permanent head damage. So if you are a chemical PhD, all the time you think about this only. Everything appears to be chemicals only for you. There's a man standing there, only with combination of some chemicals. If he's a software person, everything looks like everything is programmed. Everybody is programmed, Swamiji, nowadays. You know, when I talk to people of a particular profession, they all talk in their terminologies only. Swamiji, myself, my husband, I don't know, somehow we are not able to become compatible. The compatibility. And a banking person, I don't want to reconcile with him. See, in everything that do, there is something debit, something credit. Accountant. Myself and my husband, the chemistry doesn't work. Chemist. See, when I diagnose the problem, doctor, our life structure is not good. Engineer. So, it is very clear. So, in the same way, the mind, when it is recognizing that as the highest goal, parayana, and able to maintain that these, when I identify with this alone, the vasanas can come to manifest and demand it. But when I recognize that is my own real nature, tannishtaha. And even as it manifests through my body, mind, intellect, I know that that alone is doing that, tad atma. Not only in me, in all beings it is the same presence. The presence is therefore same, not only same, in the same degree also. No difference. Tad buddhi. So he doesn't stay in solitude. He doesn't stay seclusion. He comes back to the world with that correct understanding. And therefore, that tad buddhayahas tad atmanah tannishta tad parayanaha gacchanti apunaravrittim. They go to the state of no return. Why? Jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. Jnanena, because of the knowledge, nirdhuta, vinashita, destroyed, annihilated, kalmashaha, the impurities in the form of vasanas. So, this is not available only for some special people or anything. Every one of us are capable of doing that. As Gurudev writes, this is a result of full participation in the study. The next stage of that is to understand the studies and active involvement in that, and then come to have complete commitment. So, our study of Gita should not become a mere scholarly one. The study should become a participation, then involvement and commitment. Then only the result will be there. Just like in a marriage also, I'm participating in your life. Right? It should become commitment finally. That's where most youngsters are very afraid. No? Oh, we will date. Commitment? No. Commitment is a dangerous word for them. So they remain happy-go-lucky. Now, as I said, when a person is able to see that very thing in me, this very self in me, is the one which is in all beings, what is his perception of world? How does he treat others? That is beautifully said in the next verse we read, verse number 18. Vidya vinaya sampanne Brahmane gavihastini Shuni chaiva swapakecha Pandita samadarshinaha Vidya vinaya sampanne Brahmane gavihastini Shuni chaiva swapakecha Pandita samadarshinaha. Before we go into this verse, I have to explain to you how that Tat Parayana takes place, just to a little idea about that. Now you are all coming to Sundays classes. What you are doing is called Shravana, listening. That listening is the step for Parayana. Because we don't even know, nobody has taught us in the school or anywhere that there is something called a presence in me which is holy and divine. We always think of God as somebody hanging around somewhere in a temple or a church or a mosque or a synagogue or wherever, or somewhere in the heaven, I don't know where it is, but it's there. That very thing which one consider as God, who is the controller of the universe, etc., his own presence is there in me as my own life. This connection is Shravana, listening. Just like a child, when you send him to school, and before he comes to learn about the power, current, you ask him, when a young child of 4 or 3-year-old, where is the current, where is the power coming from? He'll say in the bulb. Or he may, at the maximum, say in the switch. Correct? Switch is where the power coming from. But is there the switch is the power coming from? Then you are, as an intelligent father, you go to that, your own, that, what is it called? Switchboard, or whatever called. And what's that? Electric board, small. Here is where everything is connected. From here, it goes to every room. In every room there is a switch. When you put the switch on, the power here it goes and then goes to the bulb. Oh! Is that the place of power, generation of power there? Huh? Then you are taking him to some cities, and when on the way to outside the city, there is a power. Here is where the power is coming from. Daddy, you said that inside a house. To the house it is coming from here. Oh. No. Then you take him to Niagara Falls. There is a turbine. That's where my dear child, this is where power is generated. He never connected water with power. How can the water create power? Hydroelectric. So he realized, from here that goes to that place where huge is, there it goes. And from there it goes to our house. And from there, our house, and to the switch. And when it's there, and then it comes here. So he realizes, the one which is here is what is there. That which is here in this very lamp is coming from where? What is the source? So here also is there, in the switch also it is there, in that small board is also there, in the power station is there, in the generating station is also. Similarly, you go to a temple or a church or mosque, is there, no doubt about that. But that alone is not. That is where you see it in a form, worshipable, respectable, adorable. But that very one which you are worshipping there is the same one in you, in every being. So when that requires Shravanam, listen or study. Then you do the reflection of that. How is that? That very God who is worshipped in the temple or a church anywhere, how can that be in my presence, in this unholy presence of my physical body and such a stupid I am? Yes, even the utter stupid one is present as much as in the saintly, intelligent one. He is neither affected by the stupidity of the stupid, nor he is affected by the intelligence of the intelligent. His presence is always, ever. So that is manana, thinking. You are only listening, get back to thinking. After having thought about it, you realize that if that is me, then what is this? This is matter, and that is sentience. This is temporary, that is permanent. This is ephemeral, that is eternal. This is changing, that is unchanging. This has form, this has no form. This is known, this is unknown. This analysis, when you come to start and let go of your identity with this and recognize that as we have said, tadatma, that happens in dhyanam. So technically known as nididhyasana. You might have heard this Nirvana Shatakam. Mano buddhya hankara chittani naham na cha shrotra jihve na cha grana netre na cha vyoma bhumirna tejo na vayuhu chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. Manaha buddhi ahankara chittani na aham na da shrotra jihve na cha prana netre. I am not this mind, intellect, memory, ego, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, water, fire, earth, space, air. I am that. This is in nididhyasanam, dhyanam, contemplation. Then comes a point of total identity with that, samadhihi, that is tad-buddhihi. So traditionally we translate this verse into the 4 stages of growth of a spiritual person, from listening to reflection to contemplation to realization. On the verge of realization, an individual comes to realize that that is in me is what is in all. For such a person, whether it is a Brahmana who is standing in front of him, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane, a man of knowledge with great humility, whether he is in front of me, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane, Gavi, whether it's an elephant standing there which represents Rajas. Gavi here the cow representing Rajas, Hastini, the elephant representing Tamas, tamasic moods, indulgence. Sunichaiva Swapakej, or a dog eater, living in the lowest level of values. Panditaha Samadarshinaha. Men of wisdom will see them all as one. In all of them, it is the same. Gurudev used to give a beautiful example in that. So when you go to in a typical house, in a household, South Indian house, and you have taken your 3 of your friends also, and you are all sitting, and then the man of the house calls his wife, ask them what they want to drink. So one man says, can I have coffee, please? Okay. I will have orange juice. Okay. Third one says, I will just have water. Fine. She goes inside. She prepares only one. Orange juice. Easy to do. Finished. Put some salt and sugar in that. She brings. We have this. Okay. Whether the fellow wants coffee or juice or water, doesn't matter. Same thing is given. Why? Because when you look at that very pleasant face, you forget what you want. Another example he used to give. 4 friends went to a hotel and they were ordering before food. What do you want? Pani de do. The Malayali said, Ballang kondu va. Tamilian say Tanni. And Kannada fellow, what do you say? Neeru. Tukandbanni. He will have one junk of water only. The same water goes into everything. Pani chahiye elelo. Tanni vanama. Vellam vano. Neer beka. Neeru, tanni, vellam and water. Same thing. Names are different, material is the same. Forms are different, reality is the same. Whether it is a Brahmana who is highly educated or mature and humble, or an animal, or a lowest level of living person, reality that is supporting all of them is one and the same. Pandidaha, men of knowledge, is Samadarshinaha, men of equal vision. Not that a man looks like a cow, cow looks like an elephant, elephant looks like a dog. No. Forms definitely are different from each other, but the essence is the same. Gurudev writes in his commentary, a person who is a spendthrift, a person who is mindlessly spending money, and his father died and he had no job and he had to live further, so his father left behind him very few things. One of them is a beautiful set of Ram Parivar made in gold, and he has been worshipping that every day. And this boy thought, in my dire need of money, what to worship and all those things, let me sell. So he went and took the Hanumanji first and went and sold it for some money. And afterwards he went and sold Lakshmana also. And after some time Sita also. Then his last one he took Ram as a central figure. And we went to him and said, I want to sell this. And that fellow looked at it, weighed it, and then gave him the money. The money was much less than Hanuman. Because Hanuman had a bigger amount of gold by size. And Ram, straight, thin person. He got very upset. Hanuman ke liye itna diya aur Ram ke liye itne diya. You gave her Hanuman so much money, but it is only 2/3 you are giving it to for Ram. Ram is greater than Hanuman. Do you know that? And fellow says, I am not bothered about who is great and who is not great. I am only bothered about the gold content. How much gold that contains, that is what matters to me. You take your Ram, give me better thing which has more gold. So as far as that goldsmith is concerned, it doesn't matter what form it is, he is only valuing content of gold, right? In the same way, it does not matter to a man of such knowledge who is in front of him. He looks at the content, not the container. We are all containers. We look like sometimes containers only. But the content, our content is the same self. It may be contaminated by the conditioning of a container, but the content is never polluted by that. The best example is whether the sunlight is falling on a ditch water or in a Ganges water. That sun is not affected by that at all. But the reflection is, yes. In an impure water, it is an impure reflection. In a pure water, it's a pure reflection. But reflection does not decide the quality of the sun. In the same way, the sun, the self, is irrespective of in which body it is functioning through. It is not affected by that. So, the perception of a man of wisdom is that presence of the self in all equally. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane. In a man of knowledge who has humility, also in such a sattvic person, Gavi, in a cow which is of the nature of Rajas, Hastini, in an elephant which is representing Tamas, Shunichaiva Shwapakecha, the dog or a dog eater which is representing the lowest level of values, Pandidaha Samadarshinaha, a man of wisdom is of men of equal vision. All right. So we'll stop there and we'll see it further in the next session. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhat Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.